What's going on, everybody? My name's Tommy. I'm a big Star Wars Unlimited fan player. I've been enjoying the game since it came out. We wanted to try and get some videos out for you guys. The team over here in Raleigh, the Raleigh Raiders that I play with, have some really strong players, and it's been a lot of fun playing together. And we figured we might as well start up some videos. And what better time than now after a super successful weekend for myself and for the team? So I figured we would jump right in. Sabine ECL carried me to a PQ win on Saturday. I got to go play over in Charlotte at your local game store. It was about 79 people, capped at 84. And honestly, it was a pretty surreal experience. It was super fun. People, are kind of sleeping on Sabine ECL right now. Like, I really don't think that everyone's really thinking about it, preparing for it. Everyone's trying to do what they can for the Hantu Blues and the Kylo Tarkin Towns and the Thousands, and Sabine ECL still does Sabine ECL things, and it's a lot of fun. The deck performed great, and I'll get into the matchups and everything like that, and wanted to just try and create a little bit of a meta video, a deck tech video for a deck that a lot of people know how it functions, but they don't necessarily know how to play the new matchups or know how to deal with some of the new card interactions and things like that. So I figured I would jump into a little bit of that. A little bit about the tournament. So there's me cheesing on the left side, and some of the interactions that I had with different players on the right side, and some of the matchups that I ran. As you could see, right, like round one, right off the bat, Kazuda Data Vault, I had lost 2-0. Like, I got smoked by him. He's a super strong player. I was really afraid of seeing that matchup. There were two players there playing that deck, and I ran into one of them in round one. You can ask my buddies. Literally, after that round happened, I was done in like maybe 10, 15 minutes, and I was like, all right, I'm done. I want to go home. Like, let's just drive home already. I'm kind of out. And, obviously that was a good decision not to go home because it worked out for me in the long run. But yeah, he just kind of overran me with a lot of space units. I couldn't keep up. I wasn't drawing my space heavy stuff in my list that you guys will see in a little bit. And that was a super tough one. The rest of the rounds were essentially like round two, Hantu Blue. Ran through it pretty easily. Like, my deck is really tech to beat that deck, so I'm glad that I took that one down. Nathan there was on Talzin Red. It could be a scary matchup, man. Like, Force Throws, Force Lightnings are two super strong cards, as everybody knows, and trying to fight through those is pretty tough, but I was able to get that one 2-0 as well. They call me Stacy, my buddy Zed. He was playing a little bit of a Piet Red 30 deck there with Invisible Hand, stuff like that. That deck can catch you off guard, man. Like, the second they get to an OB target, you need to make sure you're clearing that out or you're not able to get blown out. And, that can be pretty scary. But, as you can see going down this list, it's just 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Sabine was just doing his thing, man. I lost my first two games, and I won out until top 8 from there. Dret 2, he was playing a super cool Yoda red list. I think blue-red hero in general is in a really good spot for me to be able to blow through, so that was super exciting that I was able to sit down from that and actually perform the way that I wanted to. And then H-Ware down there, that's Hunter, super cool guy that I met. He's from the Charlotte area. Shout out to Hunter. He was on a Quinlan Tarkin Town. People think that Quinlan and Cad are tough matchups for Sabine, and like 3-4 weeks ago I would have agreed. I have ran my head into Quinlan and Cad for the last 2 weeks after Worlds, leading into this, and just non-stop going for it. And once you figure out those lines, it becomes way, way easier. Now my buddies who play Quinlan on the team around me are really, really scared to play against Sabine. And it's like, I think if you can figure out those lines, it's in such a good spot to be able to take over. We got to round 7, and I was playing against my buddy Kyle. We decided to draw. We were in 8th and 9th place. There was a matchup happening on the table below us that if the person who was up X1 won, would have knocked one of us out. But Kyle and I are good friends, and we kind of just decided to send it and say, hey, no matter what, one of us are going to get in. And best case, both of us get in. My breakers were a little bit better than Kyle's. I think in the long run, I would have been the one that made it in instead of him. But we just decided to go with it. And we were just like, all right, cool, man. Like, we've had a long day. This was a lot better than I thought I was going to do today after that first round. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and draw. And we'll see what happens. Luckily and unluckily, the player that was paired down and supposed to win, ended up losing that game, which let Kyle and I, Flint, both get in as the 7th and 8th seed, which was super cool. So I went into top 8 as the 7th seed after running through all of my matchups round 2 through 6. And this is where things got super fun. Shout out to the Raleigh Raiders. There were 3 of us out of the 9 that went in the top 8. We had Flint, Red Shocks, and myself. They both were on Quinlan Tarkentown, and then I was on the Sabine ECL, aggro forever. But yeah, we sat down in quarterfinals, and I ended up sitting across from Noah Walker. Super cool guy. He was playing Quinlan Tarkentown. A little bit of a spicy list. It was kind of fun. Good matchup, and I really think that I was super prepared for that, thanks to Flint, Red Shocks, and then my buddy Bearstein, who got super well placement on day 3 in Worlds with Quinlan. So I was super ready for that matchup, and it felt pretty good. I had one really cool play on game 1 where he had a Millennium Falcon and a Green Squadron A-Wing in the space, and then I had a Luke Skywalker pilot and a Cassian on the ground. I ended up on 4 resources, ECLing into his Millennium Falcon, pinging it for 1 damage, and giving the experience down to my Cassian, knowing that he had 3 mana up, having paid for the Falcon, or 3 resources up, having paid for the Falcon, on top of Tarkentown still up. So my masterpiece was going to die regardless. So I buffed up that Cassian, and he just started, going to town and putting in a lot of work. That 4/6 is tough to deal with, especially if you throw a lightsaber on there or something. So that was kind of a really cool standout play for me on that one. And then unfortunately, game 2, he just didn't really draw really well, and I kind of just started to run through that one as well. Semifinals, Slanky, super fun. He was playing Sabine Yellow, which is a terrifying matchup for me. Like, the 2 matchups I don't want to see, Sabine Yellow and Kazuda Data Vault. Like, those are 2 fast matchups. They have a lot of tools that can deal with a lot of things that I'm trying to do, and it was just genuinely super tough. It came down to, Rebel Assault, small interactions. We were joking through the entire matchup, laughing and saying, who hits the Sabine into the Fleet Lieutenant, and then you win. He took game 1 with that Sabine Fleet Lieutenant, and then just kind of board flooded. I ended up taking game 2 with the same exact line. I went Sabine, I went Fleet Lieutenant, 5 base, and I just raced him. Game 3 was super spicy. It was really close in general, and I think it came down to turn 1, he went Sabine. I had a feeling he had that Fleet Lieutenant in hand, so I ECL'd a Battlefield Marine, killed his Sabine, and just kind of put him on the back foot from there. There were definitely some standout turns there where, at one point I had him at 19 damage on his base. I was at about 16. I had a couple units on the board with a Sabine leader with the Yoda's lightsaber, and I had a Daring Raid in hand, which I think, I'll talk about in a little bit, but Daring Raid's spicy card. And he was doing Rebel Assault math. Like, he was even verbally saying, like, all right, so if you have Rebel Assault, then I just lose anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ping. And he pinged, putting himself to 20, which put me into the mindset of, let's go ahead and hit him with that Daring Raid, put him to 22. Had the Yoda's lightsaber on the Sabine, which is already swinging for 6, and I top decked a Fleet Lieutenant to hit him for the 8. So that ping, when he was doing that Rebel Assault math, really kind of did him in there, but that was a super fun matchup, really tough. And then we come down to the finals. David Jones, Iden, Data Vault. It's a good matchup for Sabine. It really is. Scary, but good matchup. You really want to just kind of force them to have the answers, right? Like, if they don't have the card draw, you're keeping them on top deck mode. They're having to answer things every single turn, and if you can really just keep up the pressure, keep going wide, when he board clears, you refill, all that fun stuff. It's really fun and an interactive matchup. A lot of times where you just kind of got to force him to have it. You play K2SO on 4. If he has no glory, then he's spending his entire 5 resource turn to do that, and then I'm still hitting him with Sabine. I'm still doing things, and I think it's a lot of fun. There was one crazy play that I had in there that I want to touch on just a little bit. There was a point in time in game 3 where I have a Green Squadron A-Wing with a Chewbacca on it, and he entrenches it. I have nothing on the ground, and I play a red 5. I have 3 resources left on the 6 resource turn. He's already tapped out. He's got nothing left to do, and he claims. I, for a cause I believe in, revealing a Yoda's lightsaber, which I have as my one-of card in my hand, and then a Sabine's masterpiece, a Chewbacca, and a heroic sacrifice. So what I do is I take the Yoda's lightsaber, I throw that into the graveyard. I've got 3 other cards to deal with. He thinks that he's able to know what order they go back in, but he's not allowed to. I'm able to kind of put them back as long as there's more than 2 cards. He won't know what cards are there. So I try to play a little bit of a mind game here. I say, okay, I've got a red 5, no pilot. I have a Chewbacca already on my Green Squadron A-Wing, but he's bricked down with the Entrenched. I leave the Chewbacca in those 3 cards instead of discarding it. And the reason I did that is because I really wanted to play that mind game of going into 7 resources. You have to spend resources to kill that red 5, because if you don't have a no glory, I'm threatening putting the Chewbacca on there. Now what I did was I put that Chewbacca on the 3rd. So I have now Sabine's Masterpiece, Heroic Sacrifice, Chewbacca. I draw the Sabine's Masterpiece and the Heroic Sacrifice. He thinks I drew the Chewbacca. I resource the Heroic Sacrifice, and then I have him, so he had claimed, he vanquishes my red 5, thinking that I was going to Chewbacca it if he doesn't. I then have wide open to flip out Cassian from my row, throw the Yoda's lightsaber on it, and start swinging for 6, resourcing the Chewbacca into the row that I knew was 3rd on top. So it was just a full-blown mind game of like, let's put that 3rd on top. I know it's going to go into the row. I know he's not going to let me have that spaceship to put it on, and it worked out, and I was so excited whenever that finally landed, because it was one of those things where it was just like, this could pay off, but if he doesn't kill that red 5, then it could backfire. Like, I would have had to attack with the red 5, then he knows I don't have the Chewbacca in hand, and it just kind of would have backfired. So, like, really forced him into that vanquish right away. So that was, like, kind of the highlight of the finals, but that's going to go up on Next Gen's YouTube. I'll drop a link to it in the bottom of this channel, or at bottom of this video, but super, super fun matchup. I missed Lethal in game 2. He won game 2. I won game 1, game 3, and, you know, game 3, I felt like I was fully in control, so that was super awesome. So let's go ahead and get into the deck list. Sabine, it is what it is, right? Like, you got the Poes, you got the Wreckers, you got the ECL targets, which are always super fun. You got the Rebel Assaults and Battlefield Marines, all your 2-drops, your, you know, Cassians, your Fleet Lieutenants, your Sabine's Masterpieces, your 4 Causes, your K2SOs. That's kind of the crux of, like, what is Sabine. Now, where we kind of got into this a little bit, and, you know, to step back, I played this also at Worlds with my buddy Hannons. We both really were kind of just figuring out how to play this deck and how to play this into the meta, and if we could play it into the meta. And it turns out, like, with a couple small changes, we really could. And, like, a standout card that came in was this Yoda's lightsaber. Like, Yoda's lightsaber in general was a phenomenal addition. So a little bit about the deck list. Like, I think Heroic Sacrifice is amazing main board. Like, if they let a Poe live, I can hit him for 10. If they, you know, have a K2SO on the board, I can hit him for 9. You can get a lot of crazy out-of-hand damage with that card. Especially the draw is super relevant if you're trying to board fill after you kill something. If they try to take a favorable trade, and then you can just punch over with the Heroic Sac and just deal a little bit of extra damage with that card draw. I don't think I'll ever not want that card in the main. I see a lot of people playing it in the side. I'm fine with that. But every single matchup, I was bringing it in. I would rather take it out if I don't want it than wish I had it on game 1. We'll get into the Spec Force Soldiers, the Yoda's lightsabers, the red 5s in the next, you know, little bit. But the rest of the deck list is pretty straightforward, I think. Timely Intervention is a powerhouse card. Like, having extra ECL targets is awesome. Against that Iden Data Vault player in the finals, I was really trying to play out my Timelies before I had ECL. Because if you threaten the ECL play, it prevents him from flipping Iden, which prevents him from getting some of that free life gain. So, you know, I really think the Timelies are really nice. I wouldn't want to go up to 3. I really like the 2 just because 4 Cause I believe in. Those are my only 2 misses in the deck list pre-sideboard. So, like, my 4 damage is highly probable, which is super helpful. The rest of it's super straightforward, I think. Like, Wing Leaders, I'm a little back and forth on. They come out of the main deck a lot for game 2, game 3. They can still just kind of take over game 1, though, and against control, against decks that run power, it's really helpful. A little bit of the sideboard, so, like, Confiscates obviously are super strong. Daring Raids are great. Everybody knows what Confiscates are for. Like, I'm not going to get Darth Vaders, Kazudas, whatever you got to do. Daring Raids are sick, man. Like, against the Kylo Tarkin Town deck, against some of these decks where you just need that little bit of extra reach, like, the Daring Raid is good damage out of hand. It helps you in some of those race matchups. It kills a Migs whenever he plays. That's kind of the hardest thing that a Kylo Tarkentown can do against you is like they drop Migs and then you're kind of like, okay, well if I play something it's gonna die to that. Do I ECL into it and it gets Tarkentown? Like just having that Daring Raid is sick, right? So I really like the Daring Raid edition. I had Metal Ceremonies in at Worlds and I took those 2 out thanks to Hannons who convinced me and put in those Daring Raids. Blue leaders are super strong. You know, obviously. They're really in for those space matchups when playing against Kazudas or Vaders or any pilot deck. Blue leaders can kind of just blow out, you know, a Green Squadron A-Wing turn 1 or anything like that. Sundari Peacekeepers, phenomenal. Against all these ping decks, you know, you've got your Cad Banes and your Quinlins. The 5 health is super relevant. Against some of the races, you can actually play that out and get a little bit of fun stuff in there too. And Yoda's lightsaber can go onto it, making it swing for 6 instead of the 3. You're still restoring 2, and 6 health is kind of a good threshold to put that thing at. So really like the Peacekeepers in the side, and then Chewbacca's for that control matchup as well. Anytime they run power, I'm happy to have a Chewbacca in the side. So that's kind of the deck list as a whole. I think it's running really, really smoothly, and I'm super excited about it. And, you know, to get a little bit more into some of those interesting card choices, we're going to go ahead and jump into the upgrades. I think the upgrades are the first one. And it's really just like, are you playing Darksabers? Are you playing Yoda's lightsabers? Or are you playing both? And as much as I love slamming a Darksaber and saying, too bad you didn't deal with my Sabine, like, the ability to slam a Yoda's lightsaber and a 2-drop in the same turn is insane. Like, if I can go Yoda's lightsaber plus Battlefield Marine, Yoda's lightsaber plus Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, I'm developing a threat in my Sabine leader that they have to deal with. I'm developing a 2-drop that they also have to deal with. I'm threatening a Rebel Assault on the next turn just from my 4-drop turn. And it's really giving me extra opportunities to force their hand to do something before I flip Sabine. So a general turn, I'll explain a great turn in a second, but a general turn would be on 4 resource, attack with anything that I have, then I ping with Sabine, then I play my 2-drop. They're like, okay, no Darksaber. Then I flip Sabine, Yoda's lightsaber, swing to the fences for 6 more. I think Darksaber is still fine. Like, I think it is okay, but the chance of getting blown out for 4 is just so high, especially with Bamboozles running around because it's Kylo Tarkentown and stuff like that. It's just, like, not something that I really want to do. On top of the fact that people aren't really talking about in this, you know, Yoda lightsaber versus Darksaber discussion is the heroic pip on 4 cause I believe in. Having the extra heroic pip off of 4 cause I believe in versus just the command pip and missing because you have the extra upgrades is pretty relevant. Like, the amount of times I'll flip a Yoda's lightsaber, like in that Iden play that I talked about, I'll still get that damage in, and then I'll still toss it because I don't want it, and because at that point you're not really looking for the upgrades. It also lets you do things like 7 resources, flipping Cassian and going Yoda's lightsaber for 7 because you're never really going to do that at 9. And it's just way more of a flexible card for not much of a drawback. Like, it's 2 less resources for 2 less health and 1 less damage. Like, that's really, in an aggro deck where I'm saying deal with my stuff, I'm happy with that. The next card that I'm going to talk about is Red 5. I think Red 5 in this current meta is in a phenomenal place. Against all the Han 2s, it's just going to blow them out, right? Like, I think if they don't answer Red 5, it's super straightforward. In general, I kind of leaned a little bit more towards a heavy space list because I think space is really good right now. Everyone's trying to play with force on the ground, and if you go space, you pilot it. You're now looking at a 6/6 if I put a Luke on there, and it's just going to keep swinging. So, you know, I think Red 5 in general is in a really good spot. As the aggro deck, which we are on Sabine, they're trying to trade into our stuff. And if they can't trade into the Red 5, but they're trading into other things, that means this Red 5 is also going to get additional free damage. So why not just, you know, keep the 2 in there and keep running? People have asked me, do I want to put a 3rd one in? I think it's really good. I think it's definitely doable. I would have to try to find a spot for it. And that 3-drop slot is definitely pretty tight. So it would have to be a really good reason to get it in there. So right now I'm just sticking with the 2, but I think it's honestly not out of the realm of possibility of putting another one in there. The last card that I want to talk about, and this is the spicy one that Hannah's and I came up with for Worlds, which was great before the open deck list, and then after open deck list it got a little worse, but it was still really good, is Spec Force Soldier. Spec Force Soldier is a powerhouse. People do not understand how awesome this card is. It is a Rebel. It is a 1-drop, so it dodges Quinlan pings, and it removes Sentinel to get you damage in. Okay, like, let me say that again. It removes Sentinel so you can continue to get damage in. That is so important in Sabine because the amount of times that you can get a insane amount of damage in, especially on your 4 resource turn, is awesome. And what I mean by that is when you play against a Hantu Blue, or when you play against anyone who's running Chirrits, for example, their play on your flip turn is Chirrit. If they play Chirrit and you have a Spec Force in turn, that Chirrit is not doing anything that turn. So let me run you through some plays that I did over in Vegas during Worlds, and you know, I think one of them was great because the Hantu player actually said like, hey, like if you didn't have that Spec Force, I would have won that game. 4 resource turn, I already have a Sabine's Masterpiece on the board, and I have a it's like a Battlefield Marine, I think, on the board. I ping for Sabine after attacking with, I think it was my Battlefield Marine, just because I wanted to get that damage in. They play a Chariot. I flip my Sabine. They attack into Sabine with, I think it was like a Yaddle or something. Sure, whatever. I play a Yoda's Lightsaber onto my Sabine. They think, oh, well, I can't get through my Chariot. I've got the Force. I've got a Chariot. And I then slam the Spec Force Soldier. And I just watch the color drain out of their face. Because they know that if I have a Rebel Assault in my hand, I'm hitting them for a lot of damage. So what I do is then I Spec Force their Chariot. They have claimed at this point. I Rebel Assault the Sabine's Masterpiece plus the Sabine. I'll do the Sabine's Masterpiece first. I go 3 to base with him, or with the Sabine's Masterpiece. I deal 1 damage to the Yaddle to put it into a little bit of a threatening range where their next play on that next turn has to be with that, or I will kill it. And then I give the experience to my Sabine, and then I go to base with Sabine for 7. So that's 10 damage. Could have been 11, just because I'm playing a Spec Force and getting past this Chariot. Like, it's such a fun play to do, and it is such a shock and awe moment when you're trying to hit that damage threshold onto blue base, or you know, the 28 health Force bases, that it can really just catch those people off guard. Like, if you get them to 18, 19, 20 damage and you still have ECL up, they are going to start to get nervous. So, you know, I think that's really the crux of why I like Spec Force Soldier so much. It comes out a lot. I think that's one of the easiest cards to cut in Cyborg going into game 2. But game 1, like, I love having that thing there. It's obviously a really good curve filler too if I ever just want to play, you know, 2-drop 1-drop or 3-drop 1-drop or even a 4-drop 1-drop like K2SO and Spec Force on turn 5 or 5 resource. It's just kind of, you know, super powerful. These are kind of like the big discussion cards that I've been talked about a lot. People are like, oh, well, why this card, and I think that kind of helps a little bit shine a light on kind of why I'm playing those cards, and open discussion if you guys want to comment on the video, say, you know, which cards you like, don't like, what you would change, and, you know, what things you think I might change in the future. Like, let's talk about it, man. You know, I think Sabine is one of those decks where it's the, you know, piece of Play-Doh. Just mold it how you want and have fun with it and draw well, and you can win any tournament. But this is kind of how it brought me to my PQ win to qualify me for Worlds next year, which was awesome. Changes going forward, like, I don't really think I need to change too much. Like, I want to try to figure out a way to maybe deal with Kazuda Data Vault a little bit better, because that's one of the scariest matchups. But again, it's like, you just got to draw the good stuff. If you draw well against them, you can still beat them. If you draw well against any deck, you can 100% beat them. So looking into those good ECL plays with your Sabine's Masterpieces and with your red 5s, and same thing against Vader Yellow. Like, if you get good Blue Leader, red 5, or Sabine's Masterpiece ECLs, you could just win the game. So really looking out for those plays is really good. So I think moving forward, I probably would leave it pretty similar to where it is. It feels like it's kind of firing on all cylinders, especially in such an open meta where, like, most of the time I'm just trying to sprint through. If I can sprint through an opponent, then that's that, and I win. That's what you see in a lot of my, you know, records for rounds 2 through 6 was just 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and that was games done in 14, 15 minutes because I just played my hand, played my game, and made them answer it, and they couldn't. So what am I doing next? I've got a lot of time into Worlds next year. Sabine's not going to be in the rotation anymore. So I'm kind of just messing around with a bunch of different decks. I'll still be playing Sabine and some PQs here and there just to try to get some points, see if I can get my flights paid for, my hotel paid for. But I think for a little bit, we're going to be messing around with the base that I hate seeing the most. That's Data Vault. I think Data Vault is honestly a really fun card. Post-rotation, it might get a little bit worse because we have less of a card pool to pull from, so the 10 extra cards might actually not be as good as they are now. But right now, I have so many cards that I have to cut still from a Data Vault list that 10 extra cards just for the 3 extra health, irrelevant to me. Stoked on it. What am I playing with Data Vault? I'm sure you guys can guess. Boba Fett, Kazuda. These 2 decks are super fun. Both of them are on Data Vault. They're both a little bit of the pilot aggro, kind of mid-rangey for Boba, aggro for Kazuda. I've been having a lot of fun playing Kazuda Data Vault. It's a fresh take on kind of the aggro variant. You got your surprise strikes, you got your waylays, you get to play up in space. I still get to play my awesome Lukes and my Chewbacca's. And then Boba Fett, like, you know, my heart is always with Overwhelming Barrage. I love playing OB. OB is a fun card. I got to get it in now while I can. Indirect damage is also super fun. Slamming a Planetary Bombardment is just always going to be a good time. Watching your opponent try to deal with all the indirect damage is great. But no, I'll still be playing Sabine a lot. If you guys have any questions, reach out to me in Discord. I'm in the main SWU Discord at Techo. Shout out to the Raleigh Raiders for training, testing, doing all the fun stuff. Like, the team is awesome. The store that we play at, Triangle Area Trading Cards, is great. If you're ever in the Raleigh area, come stop by, come check it out. Adam, Tara, the owners are phenomenal. They take care of us. They are just, you know, a great support system, and they have an amazing Star Wars selection if you ever need some cards. They're now up on TCG Player, and they're on Shop. So if you guys ever need some cards, definitely check it out. But no, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Appreciate people hanging out with this video. It was a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I just wanted to kind of get everything out there and talk about my experience at the PQ and my deck list and all of the things that we were able to accomplish with Sabine ECL before it rotated out. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate all you guys, and I hope everybody has a great day. Peace.